Hi, I'm Doggo, and this profile 4-pack is pretty sick. You've definitely had exposure to the TMNT, whether it be the 80s show, the 90s live-action movies, the 2003 animated show, the 2007 Emoji film, the 2012 Nickelodeon show, the fucking 2016 live-action ones. Regardless, you definitely know what TMNT is. But one piece of turtle media people don't talk about a lot is the original comic book, which makes sense. Created by Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman, the original comic book is way different than the 80s show that was around it. It was dark, gritty, and most importantly, violent, which I guess makes sense why a lot of kids didn't read it, but the comics are really good and have really nice designs. So thankfully, NECA decided to halt on making the 30 millionth cartoon figure in favor for the comic designs, which I really like. NECA has made figures of the comic turtles back in 2006, and honestly, those are really good figures, even for today's standards, but their prices definitely aren't. Jesus. Now, these new turtles are stylistically way different than those original turtles, which makes sense as these designs are from later on in the comic. And the actual origin of these designs is something to bring up. A lot of reviewers are referring to these as the Jim Lawson turtles, which just isn't correct. The turtles have looked like this since like issue 8 of the comic book, way before Return to New York. The reason why they're referred to this is because Jim Lawson did pencil Return to New York, but he didn't create these designs. They existed long before them. But I guess a lot of reviewers don't know that because nobody reads comic books. Well, granted, I don't read a lot either, but I know more than them. At least it's not as bad as Wade calling them the IDW turtles.
One is Mirage and one is IDW.
What were we talking about? Oh yeah, the figures. The painting and sculpting on these figures is amazing. NECA is known for having great sculpt and paint work on their figures. Now, quality and articulation, that's a little bit different. But regardless, these figures look amazing. They look exactly like they did in the comic books, having these black lines to represent cell shading and the colors on the figure looking great. The green comes up dark on camera, but it is very bright in person. Same with the shell's yellow. Now, something you will notice immediately is how these turtles are fucking swole, but that's just accurate to this era of turtles. But another thing you will notice is the fact that they all have red bandanas. I kind of forget not everybody knows this, but yeah, in the original comic book, they all had red bandanas. The book was in black and white, but in all the art Eastman drew, they had red bandanas, which is supposed to signify them being red-eared turtles or something like that. I don't care. But I do think it looks sick. Yeah, the color bandanas are better to differentiate themselves from each other, but honestly, the red looks just as good. No, even though they all have the same bandana, it doesn't mean that they're hard to differentiate from each other. Leonardo has the strap going around his chest and the mouth going to the right. Raph has the mouth going to the left and all the scratches on his shell. Maki has a smiling face. And Donnie has the more stern-looking face with the loop on the back for his bow staff. And honestly, I love all these head sculpts as well. They look great like the comic book, but we'll talk more about the issue with the heads in the accessory segment. And yes, despite the swollenness, the proportions aren't messed up by this. It's definitely different from the original lanky turtles, but I honestly like these designs a lot. They even included the tail, which, yeah, it looks like a dick. I guess that makes sense why it wasn't on the original toys. And like I said before, NECA isn't really known for having great quality, and yeah, these figures are exempt from that. The turtles are solid, but some of their joints are randomly loose, but also well. Leonardo and Raphael's shoulders literally wouldn't swivel, so I had to go into hot water, pop them off, and then put them back on. If you have that issue, I recommend it. Don't try and put it in hot water and twist it, because you probably will strip the peg. And another issue is with paint rub. Donnie is the only one to seem to have it, with the knee pads getting the brown in the back of the knee, but I've seen it on a couple other figures. And you will get green on the swords and sides if you aren't careful with how you put them in their hands, so do be cautious with that. So here's a cool thing because of that intro. Because I threw that box so violently into those figures, every turtle now has a chunk of their paint taken off. I don't know why the heads are painted red. They should have just been green. But yeah, it was every single one of them has a chunk taken out. Raph is the worst one, I think. So is Leo. So yeah, just to clarify, because in the video there's gonna be more photos and videos of the turtles and they're gonna have these red dots on their head. It's because I'm fucking dumb. So yeah, that's not NECA's fault, that's my fault because I'm so stupid. So yeah, so here's just a clarification. Don't throw the box towards the figures because I think it might chip all of the paint. So yeah, I shouldn't have to tell you that, but fucking back to the review. What the fuck, dude? But honestly, despite these quality issues, the turtles are really good. Now, something NECA is definitely known for is the amount of accessories they include with their figures, and honestly, they kind of stink with this set. Each figure comes with a pair of gripping hands, but you do get an extra pair of fists, open hands, flat hands, and another pair of gripping hands. I guess they're tighter, but honestly, I haven't even seen a difference with them. And you only get one pair of the other hands. Why? There is 4 turtle figures in here, and for the price you're paying, you really should get 4 separate sets of hands. All more the reason for NECA to make accessory packs that cost $70. Jesus. And for extra heads. What extra heads? I guess NECA intended you to take the heads off each figure, but honestly that's stupid, because Donnie is the only one with a stern head, meaning if you wanted Raphael to not be angry all the time, you'd have to take Donnie's head off, put it on the Raph body, and then have to put the angry head on Donnie, which just doesn't make sense. Just include extra heads. You also get separate bandana pieces, one that goes around the shoulder and one that's straight, and these both look great as well. Raph specifically comes with a couple extra pieces. You get an extra arm that can go on any of the figures, but is meant for Raph that has a bandage, and you get a hoodie that just slides over the head. I recommend taking the bandana off before you do this. And these are meant to represent Raphael's look from the first Return to New York book, and honestly they are pretty cool, but the fact that he's the only one that gets extra accessories and not anybody else is dumb. You also get 3 ninja stars that can be used with any of the turtles, and of course you get each of the turtles' iconic weapons: Leo's swords, Raph's sais, Mikey's nunchucks, and Donnie's bow staff. And other weapons can be stored on them. Leo's swords go in the sheath, Raph's sais can go in his belt, Mikey's nunchuck go in his belt, and Donnie's bow staff goes in his back. Mikey's might be a little hard to get in because of the belt being so tight, but after you get it in there, they should stay. You will stretch out the belt though. Like I said, you will get green on some of these accessories, but they look great with their figures. And the accessories are very lackluster if you couldn't tell. I mean, from NECA, this is just an embarrassment with what these come with. The fucking fake turtles from the TV show have more accessories than these. Like, what the fuck? But something that I can agree with that's pretty good is the articulation. Kind of. You get a double ball joint at the head, which allows him to look up this far, down pretty good. There's a swivel at the bandana, which allows it to go all the way around. Arm goes all the way around. Hinge out, which doesn't go out that far because there isn't a good enough cut. Bicep swivel. Double bend at the elbow gets you a little over 90. And a hinge swivel on the wrist, and all the hands go in and out. Why? There is a double ball joint at the waist, which allows it to go forward a little bit, back not so much, side to side, and a little bit of a swivel. Ball joint at the hip, which lets it kick up this far, back pretty decent. Thigh swivel, double bend at the knee, and a hinge swivel at the foot. The posability is honestly really nice for what NECA does, and honestly I'm surprised it has some stuff like double jointed arms and legs. I will say there's a couple things I would add, one being toe joints and butterflies, but honestly it's good for what you have, but it could be better. But my real annoyance is with the weapon holding hands. Come on, NECA. Now, I shouldn't have to say this, but yeah, all the turtles have the same articulation because they're the same body. And also the dick is on a ball joint. Nice. As for size, here they are with the Mafex Wolverine and Spider-Man, the Mafex Hush Batman and Superman, the Studio Series Hot Rod and Kingdom Ultra Magnus, I don't know why, the Jada Toys Ryu and Fei Long, and finally, here they are with their wave mate, the NECA Splinter. In the end, these turtles rock. What did you expect? These figures just look great. Even if the articulation and accessories aren't amazing, their designs and amount of paint on them alone makes them worth it. And the price is a little steep at $150. Even through all the negativity in this review, I still don't regret that purchase at all. If you are a fan of the Mirage comics or just TMNT in general, get these figures because they're amazing. As for how you can get them, it's kind of complicated. So Target is the only store getting these turtles as of now, but they're not exclusive there, nor is Splinter or Shredder or the Foot Soldiers. They were put up back in stock a couple weeks ago, but they sold out immediately. But it's not hard to predict that NECA would put them back up again. So just don't pay scalper prices because these will get easier to get eventually. How soon? Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, leave a comment. Let me know if you got these figures and what your thoughts are on it. I'm mostly glad I got these because it got me to read the Mirage comics, and oh my god, they are great. And it makes me just love the figures even more. I definitely want to pick up Shredder, the Foot Soldiers, Casey, and Zog, but those will come eventually, and honestly, I don't really know if I want to commit right now. I'm fine with just having the Turtles and Splinter. As for what's the next review, I don't know. I did just get in one of my favorite figures, I think, of the year, but I think I have a good idea of what's gonna come next. Oh shit, I still have to do the Jonathan review. Okay, bye.